happy June. I am here with a candle. It says Into the Night. This candle is lit just like we are all lit and excited at the start of a new year. We do our vision boards, we write our goals. We are like, we're going to reach this financial goal. We're going to reach this career goal. We're going to go after that job with everything that we have. We're going to lead our teams in a way that is going to shake up the whole company. I'm going to enact some new rules and some new initiatives this year. And we are just going to hit the ground running. We give that meeting that hey, rah meeting at the beginning of the year to get everybody excited. And month 2 comes. Some things happen that are not quite that don't quite go the way we want. Month 3 happens. We're in March. Well, we've just made it through the winter for those of us who have experienced some cold months. It's of course, Christmas is long gone, so the excitement from that is there. And now we've settled into the end of the first quarter of the year, and things aren't quite as exciting. Some people haven't done what they're supposed to do. Some initiatives didn't quite go off the way we had wanted them to. And that flame becomes a little dimmer. And then we get into the second quarter, another kind of reignition of sorts. It's a new quarter. We look at the numbers. We're like, okay, let's make some adjustments here. Let's make some changes maybe to team members. Let's make some changes to our own personal goals. Let's make some new career initiatives. Hey, there may be some other things coming out. So the light is not totally gone. But again, it's not January where we've done the hey, Old Lang Syne song. We kissed under the mistletoe, and is it mistletoe? Yes, mistletoe, I believe. And we have just been enjoying the start of the new year, even for those people who have like weight loss goals, all of that. We are now in April, but spring is here, so we are also, even though we haven't quite gotten there. The leaves are back. It's green. There are some flowers. So we're reignited, right? A little bit. Then we get into month 5. Again, some more challenges. So we're ebbing and flowing. And then month 6 gets here. Oh my goodness, it's halfway through the year. What was even on that vision board? When's the last time we looked at it? When is the last time we did a push of energy to keep this flame going? Because if we don't, what happens is this. Just like this flame that's shining brightly right now can go out. The flames in our lives can go out. The flames in our goals can go out, because what they need to stay ignited is oxygen. So you see how I covered this? And what happened? The light went out. The light went out. Why did it go out? Because in order for this flame to continue to shine, it needs oxygen. Oxygen is air. That air has to mix with the other elements in order to create the flame. And what happens with us is midway through the year, our goals, our vision, our light loses oxygen. And over the next several weeks, we are going to be talking about how to reignite 2026. Because in July, the second half of the year is upon us. And just like in a basketball game or football game, athletics, for those people who are, and I love some basketball, go Knicks, right? Right now. So the second half of the game is the most important part. I don't know how many of you all have seen games where the other team is up by 10, 20 points for basketball aficionados, and that game can get turned around in the second half. Why? Because they go back into the locker room, they reset, the coach may draw some different plays because the goal hasn't changed. We still want to win, but because we've seen some other things that have happened on the court, we might need to readjust the strategy so that we can add oxygen back to our internal wicks and relight the flame. We can do it. And once we do it, we can run with patience the race towards the success and the achievement of our goals for 2026 as leaders of ourselves and as leaders of others. So the first thing that we're going to do in this session is talk about how to begin to get our oxygen back. How to begin to get our oxygen back. Now, believe it or not, the first thing that we have to do to get our oxygen back is to take a moment and have gratitude for where we've already been. Last week, I had the pleasure of serving as the featured speaker for an event called Lights on Her. I'm just going to add it here for a moment. And as the featured speaker there, and what has also been kind of the precipice for where I'm heading over the next several weeks, and we're going to have an event in July, which I'll be announcing probably next week to everyone, so you can run and register. At Lights on Her, it was a celebration of about 17 ladies who have done great work in the city of Nashville. And the reason I say it served as the precipice for where we're heading right now is because, of course, the title was Lights on Her. My speech at that time, which you all can listen to on YouTube, I may post the whole piece, but I've been posting reels of it, was really why it's important for us to live and walk in our light. And in that speech, I shared with them a part from my book, which is Unpacking Agape, the 7 Languages of Intentional Leadership. And you guys can go ahead and grab that right now at worldclasstraining.net/agape. But on page 80 of that book, I talk about the 4 distinctions, the 4th distinction of 4, for what it means to be a servant leader and what happens when you walk in the behaviors of being a servant leader, which I outline in Unpacking Agape, the 7 Languages of Intentional Leadership. And what I share as the 4th distinction is that your light is undeniable. So when I was talking to the ladies there, and for each of those ladies, they carried a special gift. And with those gifts, they were able to achieve certain milestones. One person had a great hair braiding business. Another lady had overcome a heart transplant operation. Another lady had lost over 100 pounds. And a lot of times when we're going through these journeys in life, we're so busy walking through it, we don't take a moment to say, hey, high five. I did that, right? High five. I'm congratulating and I'm celebrating me. There's a song called I Celebrate Me, right? And that's what we have to do. And so on page 80, when I talk about that 4th distinction where your light is undeniable, what I also share is that portion from Marianne Williamson's book, A Return to Love, where she says, who am I not to be brilliant, fabulous, and I'm paraphrasing, wonderful, intelligent. And actually, she says, who are you not to be? You are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within you. Your shrinking does not serve anyone. And as you allow your light to shine, you freely liberate others to do the same. And so as I shared with them at Lights on Her, when we decide to keep oxygen on our flame, we are unconsciously liberating others to do the same, because what? They feel our heat. They feel our heat. When a light is, especially a flame, is burning, or even the light that's behind me right now, that light emits heat rays, and that heat becomes energy. It's kinetic energy, and it feeds into our spirit. So when we're thinking about our goals and keeping our goals going in the right direction for 2026, the first way that we can do that is just by looking behind us for the last month, the last 2 months, the last quarter, and maybe you haven't gotten exactly where you wanted to be on your vision board or on your goal list for the year, or your KPIs are not necessarily where you wanted them to be, but you've done some things right. And it's important that you take a moment to celebrate the things that you've done well. And the other thing that happens when you do that is you can fuel your forward movement, because what you do when you think about the things that you've done well is level set that I've been really great at having my one-on-one meetings with the team, and that has at least kept us all headed in the right direction. I've been super consistent. I can say for myself, I've been super consistent with doing my newsletters. It's rare that I miss a week when people don't hear from me through my newsletters. By that, I know that has helped build my brand credibility. So, hey, high five for that. I have secured some new business this year. High five for that. And so by doing that, the flame that may have been dimming gets that oxygen. So I want everyone this week to take some time, write them down, celebrate you, even purchase yourself a little something to say, this is a symbol of the success that I have made for this year, because all of those things help reignite and keep you headed in the direction of your goals. When I closed some business last week, I just took a moment and bought myself a little something. I love clothes. So it's a little clothes, not necessarily a big item, but it was something to say. First, I'm exhaling. Secondly, you know what, Dawn? You did that because you pushed through. You made some moves to make sure that you were positioned to be able to handle this business. I even celebrated how when I talked to the person who was ultimately responsible, he told me what he wanted. I went home that evening, stayed up till 11 o'clock at night, made sure I had the plan ready for him, and delivered on that. And by me making those steps, taking those steps, I was able to secure business with their previous client. But previous clients are the best clients because you want to keep them engaged and keep them doing business and trusting you, especially if you're in the business that I do of coaching, leadership training, and professional development. I want to keep these clients who are relying and trusting on me to deliver the work that I need to deliver to their team members so their team members can be their absolute bests. So to have him trust me, to have him share exactly what he needed, and for me to be able to deliver on that was something where I said, you know what? It's time. High five. Take a moment, not a long moment. It's kind of like Dawn Staley says. She says 24 hours from a failure or a success, we turn the page and we move on. So we do have to move on so that we can continue to excel. But it's also important that, again, we put oxygen on our flames on a regular basis. So make sure this week that you go ahead and take a moment, think about what's happened up until this point in the year, and celebrate the things that you've done well. Because the other thing you'll find out is that you've probably done more well than you've even been giving yourself credit for. So make sure to do that. The other thing that I want you to do is begin, if you don't already, to have micro goals. What are micro goals? Well, if you say, for instance, I want to make $500,000 this year, or I want to make $1 million this year, there are micro goals on the way to that. And by establishing those micro goals, then it sets you up to celebrate more frequently on the way to the macro goal. And the micro goal might not necessarily be attached to, okay, I made $100,000 this month. Your micro goal on the way to that macro goal might just be that I have established 100 potential clients who are real prospects, not suspects, to get me to that place, or 50 people or 20 people who really can do great business with me on the way to that macro goal. And once I've established that benchmark or that kind of pool of real prospects, then I take a moment and I celebrate that. I got a great list going. I got some real good calls I can make this week. That's a good thing, because again, I'm going back to my own personal business, but for me to be able to do good research and come away with some good people who can feed into my business is a milestone of achievement. So I have to celebrate that. For you, think about if you're leading your teams, if you've had some challenges with maybe a specific person on your team, you might want to take the first step, because not a lot, but some leaders are avoidance leaders. They won't go across the line and have the conversation that they need to have to start bridging the gap between them and someone who may be seen as a difficult team member. And if you do that, even if it's not that, oh, now we're all kumbaya, you have made a significant first step. That is a micro goal of achievement. High five yourself and celebrate that. The more you are able to, again, celebrate where you have come from, what you have done well, what things are working in your favor, and establish micro goals, which are those mini goal steps on the way to the macro goal that allow you the opportunity to celebrate, right? Because you know these are things that are in some ways easier to achieve because they're the mini goals. Those mini goals help feed the oxygen of your flame. So those are the two things that we're going to do this week. And again, we're going to be talking about this for the next few weeks because we want to hit July running. And in July, we're actually going to have a full workshop where you're going to be able to work with some other people, put these plans into place so that you have a fantastic second half of the year. Because I'm beyond that, write the goal, do the vision, set the New Year's resolution, and then we don't see it anymore. We don't talk about it anymore until December the 26th, the day after Christmas, right? We've got to keep our eyes on the prize. We have got to do our jobs to make sure that our flames for 2026 stay we want to make sure that they stay. We want to keep them lit. We want to keep them lit. And we're going to make sure that we do that this year. So again, for this week, your 2 assignments are: 1, to make sure that you celebrate what you've done well this year, no matter how small. Make sure that you celebrate that. Number 2, you are going to create, if you don't have them already, micro goals that'll give you smaller chunks of win opportunities on the way to your macro goals. All right. If you have not already, please make sure to pick up Unpacking Agape, the 7 languages of intentional leadership, where, like I talked about before, it's really 7 behaviors for how you operate from a place of servant or sacrificial leadership. And at the end, it has those 4 distinctions, which includes distinction number 4, which is that your light is undeniable. Next week, we'll pick up with the second part of this Reignite 26, what we can do to make sure that we are aligned and ready for the second half of this year. If you have not already, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Also, make sure to connect to us on all of our social media. There is a Leaders Lounge podcast on Instagram, and you can connect to the World Class Training Institute on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Please connect to us on all of those places as well. And know that we're here for all of your leadership and professional development training needs, executive coaching, everything to help you and your organization be your best personal and professional selves is in our wheelhouse. So, all right, go out this week, do the 2 things that we talked about. Next week, we will continue this discussion so that we can reignite 2026 and make sure that the second half takes us right to our goals for the year. We're keeping our eyes on the prize and keeping our oxygen in our flame. All right. Remember the World Class Training Institute. When you are better, we are absolutely better. See you next week. Take care.